There's the switchiest thing he'll ever do. He's Nintendo's Switch Gamer Dude. He's Nintendo's Switch Gamer Dude. He's Nintendo's Switch Gamer Dude. Hello people, Nintendo Switch Gamer Dude here, bringing you a commentary on Mysterious Mr. Enter's Rick and Morty animated atrocity review of Pickle Rick. I will say, he does explain his reasoning, though granted iDubbbz does, and that's why my commentary on him sucks. I'm still going to give my 2 cents on it. A little background on Rick and Morty. This is a show that focuses on Rick, a mad scientist, and his grandson named Morty. Created by Dan Harmon, who came up with the idea after making a Back to the Future parody show. It was considered one of the simplest yet greatest shows on Adult Swim during that time of its release. Pickle Rick is about Rick turning himself into a pickle and going on wacky adventures. The other is Morty and his family going to therapy. The Mysterious Mr. Enter has been known for his animated atrocities, controversies going around, and previously his MLP reviews. For this review, because it comes off as negative in this one. No duh.
Everybody got that? Good!
Now, with that out of the way, let's begin. I'm going to skip the beginning and the Pooblah jug so we can get to Enter's gripes.
The biggest problem with this episode is very simple. Pickle Rick's simple problem is that it's not simple. I've actually been trying to analyze why Season 3 of Rick and Morty ended up so bad. It shouldn't be so hard to take science fiction concepts and then just joke about them. And then I realized, in Season 3 Rick and Morty stopped doing that. Rick Mancing the Stone is not making fun of a Mad Max future, or having any fun with a Mad Max future. It's a character study of Summer and how she's doomed to repeat her mother's marital mistakes.
A little side note there. While there was an attempt to put science in there, science accidentally got in there. Pickles are great conductors of electricity. A brain-charged electrical current on a cockroach in a rat's brain is plausible. However, Dad does have the point about soap poisoning things since pickles are high on sodium and too much isn't good for the brain. By the way, go to MacPat's Phil Philly on the Pickle Rick episode. There's more ideas from Dan's point of view.
Goes out of its way, specifically to be not fun. Vindicator 3 isn't a big fun superhero time, it's about how the idea of the superhero is a lie, and they'd actually be shitty celebrity people. Great analysis, guys. It's not, we haven't been hearing that since 2008.
Long comes Hancock.
Oh my god.
I don't remember that.
The ABC's Beth isn't about exploring a childhood wonderland turned perverted. It's about Beth's annoying family issues. Let me ask you this. What if we had an episode of Ed, Edd n Eddy where, after failing to scam the kids again, the Eds got in trouble and we got to see the abusive home lives that each of them had? It'd be very deep. It had character analysis. It'd be story-driven. And it would be absolutely horrible. It would ruin the show. And it's the reason that they let that kind of stuff in the finale movie. Because the longer an injury or consequence lasts, the less funny that it can be. Ed, Edd n Eddy is a simple show that was not designed to hold up heavy character weight and deep analysis. So it didn't.
While that example works, it doesn't work here. Because having deeper meaning is a driving force for a writer. I think Dan might be just making fun of the idea as a satire. Granted, I have no proof of this, but I'm starting to think that was what he was going for. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm right, provide some evidence of this.
And you know what other show falls right into that category? Rick and Morty. And despite not really being able to hold any sort of depth, Rick and Morty has been digging so deep that it's basically hit the septic tank. Pickle Rick is what happens when you take a simple show that was not designed to hold up the heavy character weight and deep analysis, and you put both of those things in it, and you screw the pooch as well. It is currently my least favorite episode of the show, which is actually saying something when I get more and more selections to choose from. Someone once said that a house divided against itself cannot stand. Not sure who, I think it was Donovan. And a house divided against itself is a very good way of describing Pickle Rick. It's divided into 2 halves, neither of which are good. The A plot is about Rick turning himself into a pickle and going on an adventure full of ultra-violence.
Big reveal, I'm a pickle. What do you think about that? I turned myself into a pickle!
That the show already did and did much better during Look Who's Perching Now. And even that was one of the lesser episodes of Season 2. The other half is the family going to a therapist in the most tedious fucking television that I've ever seen in my life.
It's not my job to pick sides or pass judgment. Do you think when your father asks for that syringe, you could ask him?
You don't have to ask for it, okay? He won't need it. He'll just make more. He doesn't need anything from anyone.
You admire him for that.
And both of these plots make the other one worse. Let's start with the obvious problem, and that's with the tone. Personally, I wish 22-minute cartoons didn't have subplots. If your story doesn't have enough meat for a full 22 minutes, bite the bullet and become a show with 2 11-minute segments per episode. Especially when they only come together at the end like this one. Or even worse, when they never come together at all except for a gag, like The Simpsons and Family Guy are prone to do. But let's say you gotta have a subplot instead of a story worth 22 minutes. The 2 stories should be about something similar. That's my A standard. You get an A for doing that. A C standard, a passing grade, is having them balance each other out. And upon first glance, it looks like the 2 plots here do that. The Pickle Rick segment of the episode is fast-paced and full of intense action and hardcore brutality. It can actually be quite gross, seeing Rick bite the head off of a cockroach. It would be nice to have a bit of a break from that. And the therapist storyline does do that. It's slow and quiet and tedious. The problem is that it's too slow and quiet and tedious. It's like being on a vehicle that goes 60 miles per hour, and then it just stops. When Rick is going fast and hardcore as he is, and we cut to the therapist segments feel twice as slow. The therapist segments drag in isolation with Wong's droning voice, but it is even more of a slog to get through in between Rick's action scenes. These 2 pieces do not go together, and for more obvious reasons than just the tone of problems, which I think most audience members picked up on. Like I said earlier, the 2 plots are about something similar, it's doing what subplots are supposed to do.
Considering that one is over the top and the other is down to earth, I think it works because it feels like a bungee ride. Going up and down in these 2 plots. Sometimes we need to stop thinking to not get a headache and then think again to psychoanalyze. And to be honest, I consider this a good episode because Rick is a pickle, and pickles are hilarious. You wouldn't find it entertaining if you didn't find pickles entertaining. Also, getting off track, didn't VeggieTales do something similar with Dave and the Giant Pickle? Something intimidating and hilarious at the same time? The therapy session scene's joke is that they talk shit. Basically, I think he knew what he was doing. He was trying to mix the food with the shit to make shit pickle. I'm here, literally, but I can help you eat it up.
Pickle Rick is about himself turning into a pickle. Why did he turn himself into a pickle?
I'm just trying to figure out why you would do this. Why anyone would do this. The reason anyone would do this, if they could, which they can't, would be because they could, which they can't.
Okay, what is the therapist part of the episode about? Oh, explaining Rick and why he does what he does, and really analyzing his character. You cannot have one half of an episode that says, don't think about this, while the other half says, really think about what this guy does. Look deep into his character. Meanwhile, this guy, the smartest guy in the universe, has turned himself into a pickle, rather than, I don't know, walking down the street and hiding in a fucking bush. Sure, Rick likes to overcomplicate things, but there is no logical reason that would specifically turn himself into a pickle rather than something more practical. And I can ignore lack of logic if the episode wasn't trying to make me examine his life logically.
Stop digging for hidden layers and just be impressed. I'm a pickle.
I was gonna do that as this episode brought up the point, but I should analyze how you
Yeah, I think you're thinking about this a little too hard. Here's an idea. What if he was attempting to troll the audience by going back and forth with this? Dan has a way of controversial things that shouldn't be dissected. In this case, he wants us to focus on what's easy to analyze. I mean, as someone who has watched illogical things with simple and easy logic, I think not everything matters.
Okay, this is another thing that absolutely needs to be said. Fuck Beth, and fuck Jared, but especially fuck Beth. To death. Fuck them to death. It's called Rick and Morty. That is what I want to see. Or Rick and Morty in Sometime Summer. That's what the season 3 opener promised, but no, it's going into Beth and Jerry's marital shit. Beth and Jerry should not be on the show, ever. I do not give a shit about their marital problems. And I don't know anybody else who does either. Every single time they're on the screen, I want to punch the damn thing. It is antithetical to the strengths of Rick and Morty. It's like trying to make Ren and Snippy a melodrama. Beth is just the worst. Her denial of reality isn't funny or endearing. It's problematic. I've heard Reddit's defense for filling season 3 with so much Beth and Jerry bullshit was because it's real. Yes, because we were absolutely asking for reality in our science fiction show about a drunk scientist fighting against the devil, making potions that turn people into menaces and fucking giraffes. I watched this kind of show for hard, gripping, real-life drama. And I guess the fucking giraffes are just there because. Distance from reality is what Rick and Morty should be going for, not proximity to reality. Because if you have to think about the implications of the show, you couldn't enjoy it. Rick has an entire universe enslaved to power his car. When that's his setup, why would I care about how he feels about his daughter? And my god, if that wasn't bad enough, it's how whiny Beth is. Every line of dialogue in this episode specifically is just fucking hell. Can I see that moment from the season 3 opener when Beth was exploded as a kid? This is the most heartwarming moment of the show. It's the only time it ever made me feel the warm fuzzies. Oh, what, was that too dark for you? Okay, let's go back to the show where one of the main characters is willing to nonchalantly commit genocide, and we're supposed to feel for him. What I'm saying is that Rick and Morty ain't Nolan, or at least it shouldn't be.
That's not really an unpopular opinion, Enter. I'm pretty sure everyone agrees that Roy's parents are terrible people. And just dragging it made me think you were off your meds. More forgive than little, because I don't know if you do take meds. Back to the point. You said what you're talking about was an unpopular opinion. For the most part, it is, but Morty's parents aren't one of them. An unpopular opinion would be like I found Morty's parents to be hilarious despite being unlikable people. And yes, that's my opinion. It's for the similar reason as Rick and Morty. The dad character for having the hots for Beth, and Beth for sometimes being over-the-top straight woman. Now that's an unpopular opinion.
You know that moment where Rick is sitting in the therapist's office being talked at?
Rick, the only connection between your unquestionable intelligence and the sickness destroying your family is that everyone in your family, you included, use intelligence to justify sickness. You seem to alternate between viewing your own mind as an unstoppable force and as an inescapable curse.
And I think it's because the only truly unapproachable concept for you is that it's your mind within your control.
Worst moment of the show. I mean, for starters, it feels like a self-insert fanfiction by someone who doesn't know how to write. Or at the very least, doesn't know how to restrain themselves when they write. It is one of the biggest mistakes that I've ever seen in anyone's writing. I mean, let's start with the bare basics. Show, don't tell. This is taking that statement and setting it on fire. But no, let's give the audience our Word document as to how Rick should be written. Isn't this the kind of stuff fans find fun to figure out for themselves anyway? Doesn't it take away the magic if the show just gives you all of the answers? Like, explaining what's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. The mystery is where the fun is. I mean, not that this is the answer to that mystery anyway. This is just some pretentious bullshit that amounts to nothing. If brushing your teeth is boring, you're doing it wrong.
Congratulations, Enter. You just explained a joke while taking it too seriously. That was the joke that Dan was going for. That's so unfunny that it is funny. Yes, I know what Enter is really trying to say, but my point is it flew right over his head. And he just summarized it to people who may or may not know the joke. I know you might be dealing with similar problems like you did with most of Seth MacFarlane's jokes, but this is the first time you get the joke without knowing it's a joke. Though I could be wrong. Enter, this whole episode is nothing more than a joke to analysts. A parody as it is. And no, don't give me the excuse that it wasn't hinted at. You should have figured it out when trying to make this video. While I do agree with him on this upcoming part, I think it needs to be said. Wallet.
And people apparently really like this moment as a standout of the episode, which, confuses me very much. Let me look it up and figure out why. Oh, apparently people relate to Rick a lot. Damn. Like, throughout this year, I felt some pretty shitty self-loathing, but wow, the people who relate to Rick, they've got me beat. They find themselves relating to a person who abandoned their own family, repeatedly leaves people to die, is constantly selfish, allows untold tragedy to happen just to get it through his grandson's head that nothing matters, and only trying to help will cause tragedy, is more than willing to murder, turn people into body horror monstrosities and didn't give much of a care about it, and is willing to enslave an entire universe to power up his car. Like, I've definitely never met you, but if you feel so terribly about yourself that you actually find kinship with Rick Sanchez, good God, I hope you feel better soon, man. I could not imagine how bad that must feel, to just hate yourself so fucking much that you relate to one of the most awful, horrendous people in media. I don't know who you are, but you're better than that. You are better than Rick Sanchez. He's not a character who's meant to be relatable. He's not meant to be related to. The show continually goes out of its way to show that he is an awful person, that he is a sociopathic asshole. I don't know what to tell you. After the Rick Shank redemption, the boat on caring for Rick as a person has long since passed, and luckily season 4 tends to be toning that bullshit back.
I think people find him relatable as a person because we are all egotistical, malicious, and selfish in our own way. Don't get me wrong, I find this strange. They relate to a psychopath. But considering that Rick has done redeemable things as killing a molester and turning himself in, I think his actions can mostly be justified. Rick does have a heart, it's just buried very deep down. Considering his life is a living hell, I think that's why they relate to him.
I can't say it's as good as seasons 1 and 2, many episodes seem to just be random events strung together, but anything is better than the mess of this, the pseudo-intellectual bullshit. Instead of, oh, Rick is a misunderstood blah 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 and we should care where he goes, we have him messing with Morty's existential perception of reality because Morty insulted his fat of acid plan. One final thing about the therapy scene, it's actually a pretty offensive portrayal of therapy, and not just because of the poopy and shit. No, our therapist here, Dr. Wong, psychologically corners people to meet her own perceptions of their reality, which is psychologically abusive and not what therapists do. In fact, it might be so damaging and demeaning that it might get people to not seek out therapy. Psychologists don't spit out the answers, they help you find the answers to the problems on your own. They usually refrain from giving hard answers and tend to speak more in suggestions. If you're seeing Dr. Wong as any kind of legitimate analysis or help, that's probably another bad thing. Honestly, it's kind of sick for such a portrayal of therapy for a show that's so progressive that it actually had a Gamergate reference in 2020.
I can explain it. That's how the people feel about therapy. They think they do what you brought up. Force this shit down your throat. And sometimes it can happen. There is a reason why not everyone is open to suggestions from a therapist. I'll just end it right here since it has nothing to do with the episode. Final thoughts. This wasn't that much of an unpopular opinion, and stuff that flew way over your head you missed. If there's one thing I can say to you is pay attention and maybe do enough research so you don't miss it. Like, comment, share the video, subscribe, and click the bell for more of my work. Follow me on my Twitters, Instagram, Discord, and my server for advice and more of my work.